All right, well, we can go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. My name is Kim Hazelrud. I'm the Blue STEM Publicity Co-Chair. Heather Cribbs is the other Blue STEM Publicity Co-Chair. She's not able to be with us today. And I'll turn it over to the other people who are from ISLE to introduce themselves. I'll go to Heidi.
I'm Heidi Knuth. I'm the chair of the Blue STEM Committee.
And hi there, I'm Carolyn Kinsella at Kinsella, and I am the ISLE Executive Secretary.
All right, and we have some schools from across Illinois. We have students from Greenbrier Elementary School. We have students from St. Ferdinand School. We have students from Cloverdale School. And most important, we have one of our amazing Blue STEM nominated authors with us today. We have Lily LaMotte. I'm going to turn over to her to let her introduce herself, and then we're going to ask her some questions. So we'll turn over to you, Lily.
Hello, friends. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm Lily LaMotte. I'm the author of Measuring Up, as you all know. I'm also just got this book. It is Glenn de Chef. So if any of you read French, you can now also read it in French. I'm actually learning, I'm doing Duolingo. So one day I might be able to read my own book. So I thought we'd just get started with questions since we have only 30 minutes here.
Awesome. All right, Ms. Sanchez, class, you want to get us started?
Sure. Hello, I'm Lila. And where did you get the idea for measuring up?
Hi, Lila. I got my idea for measuring up because I was doing a, I went back to school actually, just
Not us. You know, who was that? Do that again, you're out.
So I went back to school just like you are all in school right now, because I had been trying to write for a long time, and I took classes and went to conferences, and finally decided, you know, I need to go back to school to do this writing thing. And so one of the faculty, the teachers that I had was Jean Yang, who is a legitimate genius because he got the MacArthur Genius Grant. But he's also the author of American Born Chinese. And I don't know if you've heard, but Disney Plus is actually making a streaming show out of it. So how exciting is that, right? And he's wonderful. He's worked on Avatar, one of my favorite animated shows. He did, this came out, Superman Smashes the Klan. And if you are a sports basketball fan, he's actually written a sports book too, Dragon Hoops. So he's so versatile. He does everything. So when I worked with him, we talked about what project should I work with him on. And we talked about, like, what are your interests? What are you passionate about? What are the things you even know about? And so I said, I love cooking shows. One of the favorite things I love to do when I'm out at a hotel and traveling is turn on the TV and watch cooking shows, because I only have regular TV at home. I don't have these cable channels. So it's a special treat. So then I also wanted to write about a child who immigrates to the United States and Seattle specifically, because I live in the Seattle area. And I moved to the US when I was very, very young. So way younger than CC is in the story. And that's how we decided I would write Measuring Up, about a child who moves to the US and gets involved in a cooking show. Thanks, Lila.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Ellie. Did you get to pick your illustrator, and did you get to work closely with the person who illustrated your novel?
Thanks, Ellie, for that question. So there are two things, like there's graphic novels and there are picture books. And originally I wrote picture books. In fact, I have a brand new picture book coming out, my first one in January. It's called Chloe's Lunar New Year. I don't know if you want to see the book cover or not. I can show it to you. Yes? Okay. Let me share screen. Oh. Oops, hold on. Yeah. There it is. This is Chloe's Lunar New Year. And it's about celebrating Lunar New Year, and in particular in Taiwan, because a lot of Asian countries celebrate Lunar New Year, but each country has its own traditions. So this is one of the traditions in Taiwan. So what happens is that when you write picture books, you have very little control or say in who illustrates the book, how the illustrator creates the work. But graphic novels is completely different. In fact, my editor, Clarissa Wong, who is amazing, she gave me a list of illustrators to look at, and she asked me if there are any illustrators that I wanted to work with myself. And so we looked through a whole list of illustrators, looked at their art, and we chose Anne Zhu. And so what was really interesting coming from picture books where you have like no interaction and no say, no input. In graphic novels, I remembered that I went to HarperCollins to their New York office, which was super exciting because I'd never been to a publishing house before. And some of Anne's art had just come in that morning. And so Erica said, and Clarissa said, here's some art that just came in. Do you want to look at it and tell us if this is what you were envisioning when you wrote the script for it? And so it's like, I looked at it and it was exactly what I've been thinking when I wrote the script. So it was super exciting. Thanks, Ellie.
Thank you. All right, we'll go to Miss Davis's class. If you want your two students to come up, we're ready for you.
Our students are still coming up with questions. Where did you get all the recipes from measuring up?
So I did a lot of Google searching, and I also got, of course, Julia Child's cooking cookbook, which I use extensively in the book. But when I was choosing recipes, I was thinking about each child and what kind of person they are, what their background might be. And then I try to choose recipes that they would have been familiar with or something that they would have cooked themselves.
Do you want us to come back to your class, Miss Davis? Do you have someone ready or do you want us to come back to you?
You can come back to us.
Okay. All right. Are you ready? All right. We have a fifth grader here.
My name is Hia, and I was wondering what made you want to be an author?
Thank you. Is that Gia or Dia?
Hia.
Kia. Thank you, Kia.
Here with the H.
Oh, Hia. Hi, Hia. So I love reading, and even when I was very young, I love reading. So like even sitting at the breakfast table and have a box of cereal in front of me, I would just read the cereal box. And one of the things I love doing when the Sunday paper came every Sunday is the first thing was grab the comic strips and read those because they're just so fun. I read all of it, the whole thing, even like the ones that were like kind of adult-ish, right? So like Prince Valiant. I don't even know if they still publish that comic strip, but it was all adults set in medieval England. They rode horses, I think that battles or something. So not particularly interesting, but I read anyway because it was there. I've read everything. My parents didn't actually believe in reading fiction because they felt that I should only be reading academic books, right? Textbooks, the things that schools give you. And so I remember going to a library, to like the school library that you have in school, and checking stories out, and then like having to hide it so my parents would know I was reading fiction, which is kind of funny, right? So then at one point, I think it was high school, I decided I love reading so much, maybe I would try writing a book myself, a story. And I had this idea that it would be about this woman, and she lives in the desert, and she has a sailboat, and it doesn't sail on water, but it actually sails on sand. And so she's on the sand sailboat, and she's sailing across the sand, and the wind is blowing. I wrote all that down, and it probably took me like, I don't know, a paragraph, maybe two. And then I thought, well, what happens next? I don't know. And at that point I thought, okay, you know what? I don't know how to write a book. I'm obviously not a writer. And so I just stopped writing. I didn't even try again. The only type of writing I did after that was basically for school. I went to college, I wrote essays, papers, but as far as fiction, nothing. And it wasn't until I had kids and I started reading board books. Sandra Boynton is so fun. Picture books, again, really fun. And then Harry Potter came on the scene, and it was something that my kids and I read. You know, we read the first book, the second book will come out, and we have to read the first book again, right? Because it's been a year. And I just like loved it so much. I thought, well, maybe I could try again and just see what happens. And that's when I tried again, and it was so hard to write. So hard because I hadn't written in so many years. My brain actually hurt. And then took classes, met friends, and like I said, went back to Hamlin eventually because I realized I need to go back to school. And that's how I, like, seriously, if I had not gone back to Hamlin, I would never have been able to write Measuring Up. So happy. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We have one more fifth grader here.
Hi, my name is Ira, and what's your favorite genre?
Hi, Ira. Oh, I love everything. I love all sorts of things. Let's see. Of course, I love more graphic novels like Roller Girl, which I actually use as a mentor text for Measuring Up. I don't know if your teachers have talked to you about mentor text. And then, you know,
Yeah.
Twins is wonderful.
Twins
Yeah.
is also on the Blue STEM list.
Excellent. Yes, it's such a good book. And I've met Barry and Johnson, and he's amazing. In fact, I took a class with him because I was
Wow.
writing, I was thinking about writing a mystery because I love mysteries, talking about genres I love, and he was teaching a mystery class. So that was so fun to do that. El Defo is amazing. Have you read that? It's a middle grade. This book, if you want to know what it's like in the Pacific Northwest, Seattle, the Olympic Peninsula, this is a fabulous book to read because she really does the setting so well, and you feel like you know what it's like to live around here. Fly on the Wall is so fun too. This one is a hybrid,
Oh, yes.
so you get text, but also you get illustrations in it. And it's
Yes,
set in
Remy
Australia.
last, she spoke to us last year.
Oh,
She was on the
wonderful.
author chat last year with Pie in the Sky.
Nice. Perfect, right? So good. Let's see. I have so many books. I love everything. I love mysteries. I love fantasy and science fiction and yeah. Oh, I've read horror. Although I used to read a lot of horror like Stephen King. And then at one point I got so scared. I was sitting alone at night. I had no curtains on my windows. And after that, I thought I can no longer read adult horror. And the next day I went out and bought curtains for all my windows.
Awesome, thank you. All right, we'll go back to Miss Sanchez's class and then Miss Davis next if you're ready. So Miss Sanchez's class, you ready to go?
Yep, we're all ready.
Hi, my name is Sun, and are you a good cook? And what is your favorite dish to make?
Hi, Sun. Did I say your name right?
Yeah.
Hi. I love, well, I love cooking. I like making new things, and I like to actually also throw things into a pot and see what happens. I have a lot of cookbooks, and at one point, I think I had like 200 cookbooks, but then in all the moves, I slowly got rid of them because they were just too many to keep moving around. But I have started collecting cookbooks again, and just the other day, because I just moved, I was unpacking, and I found a couple cookbooks that I bought like 20 years ago when I first got out of college. I was so excited. I was like, I didn't even know I still had these books. So, oh, I'll show you something that I cooked a lot of during the pandemic. Let's see here. I'll share this with you. So this is a pizzelle, and my husband is his mother is from Sicily. And so this is basically Italian cookies, and they're usually sweet cookies, very thin, very crispy, so very delicious. But during the pandemic, I jumped on the sourdough train, and I don't know how many of you did too, but I think it was a kind of a nationwide phenomenon, right? So I had a lot of sourdough discard because every day you have to feed your sourdough starter, which means that you have to take some of it out, then you need to add more flour and basically feed it because it's actually alive. It's growing every day. But then what do you do with all that dough that you used, that you took out? And so you try to make all sorts of things. And so pizzelle is one of the things I made. And I love savory items. So I made it savory and put butter on it. So it's almost like a very thin Italian pancake, crispy pancake. And I can show you. This is a Pizzelle Maker right here. And you can see it opens up. I have an electric one. But look at these beautiful patterns. There's also something similar in that Swedish cookie that also is similar to that. So I can tell you one of my disasters though. So at one point I had some scallops and I thought, oh, and I had some apples. And I thought, oh, that'd be so fun. Maybe I can make a scalloped apple pie. They're kind of both got a sweetness to it. Maybe they go together. I don't know. I like to experiment. It was a utter and total failure. It was so disgusting. I think we all took a bite of it. I was like, I'm gonna spit it out. First, I tried to say it's not too bad, but no, I'd admit it was terrible. So we ended up throwing the whole thing out. But if you love cooking, I think you should go ahead and experiment anyway, right? Because, like I said, what's the worst thing that happens? You create something wonderful or something not so good, but then you learn from it, right? You learn from that failure and you'll get better.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lucas. What will there be a sequel to Measuring Up?
Thank you, Lucas, for that question. I when I was working on my next graphic novel for my editor, we talked about what I should write next. And so she was very open to anything that I wanted to do. We did talk about whether I should write the next story, and I proposed that I would write Miranda's story because I thought she was a really interesting character. Like at the end, right? You don't know actually what happens to her. I thought, well, maybe I could write it so then we could see what happens with Miranda and her dad and the restaurant. But my editor didn't love that idea. And so I pitched a whole bunch of other ideas to her. And we ended up about writing Unhappy Camper, which I can see the book cover for that. I'll show it to you. Okay, so this is Unhappy Camper, and it's supposed to come out next in 2023 sometime. I'm not sure. It's been pushed back a few times, so I'm not sure about the timeline. But basically, it's about this girl who is sent to summer camp by her parents. Her older sister is going to be a counselor there, and she just loves the camp. She goes there and she really learns about being Taiwanese and all the things. Whereas my character is like, oh, I don't know, I have plans with my friends this summer. I really don't want to go to camp. But her parents make her, and that's why she's super unhappy. And you can see on the cover, she is just really struggling to learn how to do calligraphy, which honestly, I would struggle too if I were sent to that camp, because I know nothing about calligraphy and how to write these words. I had to, I asked my parents actually a lot of questions because I wanted to make sure that I got all these details right.
All right, thank you. Miss Davis's class, are you guys ready to ask questions? If so, you guys can go up and you have 2 students ready.
We only have one. What does it take to publish a book? What's the process for that?
That's a big question, which a lot of people are asking. Anyone who's interested in writing at all will have to ask these questions. So it's very different. If you are actually writing a graphic novel, you have the advantage of going to like a Comic-Con where they actually sell tables, and you can just rent one of these tables, bring your graphic novel. A lot of times a lot of comic book writers actually self-publish in that way, where they do the illustration and they print it out themselves on their printer, staple them together. They go to the Comic-Con at their table, and they sell these things. And Comic-Cons are so popular, right? So people come through, they wander through all the tables, and they see your comics and they take a look at it and they love it. They'll buy a copy from you. Or you're still in school, you could probably do, I don't know if it's allowed to, maybe you could sell it to your friends. And if let's say you're an illustrator, but you aren't quite sure about the storytelling part of it, or you love writing stories, but you don't actually know how to do the art, you should collaborate, work together, just like Anne and I work together on Measuring Up. So now, if you are interested in writing a prose novel, it's a little bit harder for prose novelists because at this point, you need an agent. There's only one publishing house that I can think of, Chronicle Books in San Francisco, who is still an independent publisher. They will still take unsolicited manuscripts. They are a fabulous publishing house. Let's see if I have this book here. I think I moved it during the move. I'm still unpacking. But like Laurel Snyder, Charlie and Mouse, they published Charlie and Mouse, which has won awards. So they're wonderful. But other than that, you need an agent, which means that you need to get your manuscripts in amazing shape. It's got to be really, really good, because these agents will get queries from authors. Like some of them get like 100 of them a day, and they have to look through them. So a lot of competition. Have critique groups. I have 3 critique groups that meet weekly. And so we look at each other's work, just like you get feedback and notes from your teacher when you turn in assignments. It's the same thing for us. We share our work, they look through it, and they give us notes back. So when I wrote Measuring Up, I went to my critique groups, and every week, I would send them 5, maybe 10 pages at a time, but basically a scene. We would read through it, one of the things is read it aloud, because reading it aloud is so different from just reading it on the page. And you'll hear things when you hear someone read your work that you would never see if you just sat down and read it on paper silently. So I would take my work in every week, I get my notes back, I would revise, I write the new pages, bring the new pages in. And that's how I worked through the book. So once you feel like it's really good, don't be afraid of notes, because you don't always have to listen to everything that's on the notes. But if you hear the same thing over and over again, it usually means that there's something to be looked at. There's something that needs tweaking. There's something that's not working yet. So you might ask people, your friends, your critique group for ideas, but you don't have to take them. But maybe sometimes it sparks ideas in yourself to how to fix it, right? So after you get your manuscript all ready to go, you need to write query letters. You just Google query letters, and there are a lot of blog posts out there on how to write one. We do the same thing when my critique group members are sending out queries. We look at their letters and say, this you wrote too much over here. You need to explain this much better. This is a little unclear. I don't know what you're trying to say over here. One of my critique group members is querying right now. We looked at her query letter like 5 times. So she revised one letter, which is less than a page, right? It's like this much text 5 times. But by the end, it looked really good. So then she sent it out. And then you wait and wait for an agent to look at it. Hopefully you get an agent who says, oh, I love your pages, the 3 pages or 5 pages or 10 pages. Each agent is different. So you have to look at their website and see what they want from you. Be really good about following directions, because that's the one thing. Just like in school, right? Like following directions is really important. Sending these query letters is super important, because since they get so many queries, any reason to say, no, this isn't going to work, toss it as fast as possible, right? But if you follow all their directions, you give yourself a chance to be read. And then once they ask you for a full manuscript, you send it in, and then you wait some more. One of my critique group members just signed with an agent last week. Super happy for her, so happy. But it was the same. She just went through this entire process, and it took months for agents to get back to her. And then once you get an agent, you get a phone call, you make sure that you like how each work, that you can collaborate together. And then the agent will actually give you notes again. So I did another pass with my agent. And she said we only did 1 pass, because she said my manuscript was actually in really good shape. Then we sent it out. Clarissa Wong, my editor, read it, loved it, did a preempt on it. I also had other editors who were really interested in it. So I talked to the other editors too, and we could have gone to auction, but Clarissa actually wrote me such a beautiful letter. She made me cry, and I felt like she really gets me. She really gets what I'm trying to do with measuring up. And so once we signed with her, again, I got more notes and did another pass with her. And she said, these pages are in fabulous shape, but here are some more notes. We went through them, and but you know what? The thing is, at every stage of this, even though it was writing over and revising, every time I did it, it got so much better. And measuring up would not be in the state that you are holding your hands if it hadn't been for all these revision passes. And that's how you get published.
Great, thank you. So thank you, everyone. You asked such great questions. If you would like to, in like a second, we'll unmute and say goodbye. But I just want to say thank you to Lily LaMotte for answering our readers' questions today, and for being with us today. And remember, she wrote Measuring Up. So schools, if you want to unmute and say goodbye, and we will see you all next time. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Have a wonderful day. Oh, and happy Friday. It's the weekend. Go enjoy your weekend.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.